Hello, Azora! I'm particularly excited right now because I finally figured out how to do videos that, actually sync the audio in the video, because for the past 2 hours I've been trying to do that unsuccessfully, but I finally figured out how to do it. Yay! Okay, so this is my first real video, other than the introduction, and so of course I had to pick a topic that was something amazing, something beautiful and important. And so, what better thing to talk about than Tchaikovsky? Tchaikovsky, yay! I'm really excited. I haven't even gotten to the meat of the video yet. But guess who? Just guess who's on my October month of my composer calendar. It's Tchaikovsky, look. Oh gosh. Tchaikovsky. Yay, good. Woo! This is gonna be the best month ever because I get to look at this face every day when I wake up. That's awesome. That's like, forget about everything else. This is gonna make my day every day. And that was what inspired me to make this video about Tchaikovsky. I didn't have enough time to do in-depth research, though, about his life, and, obviously, I want to make sure I do a really good job of relaying that information, so I'm going to save that for a different time. So this video, instead, I think it'll be the basics of Tchaikovsky. So, I'll tell you a little bit about him, and then my goal is to give you, like the equivalent of a top 10 hits for Tchaikovsky. Like 10 songs that you should start listening to if you are interested in Tchaikovsky. 10 pieces, that is. And so, with that being said, Tchaikovsky was Russian. He was born in 1840. Let me check. 1840, and he died in 1893, which puts him right in the heart of the Romantic era of classical music. And I would venture to say that Tchaikovsky is definitely one of the most popular Romantic composers. And Romantic doesn't necessarily mean like, you're in love and it's very passionate. I mean, it's just the name of the era, like the Romantic era of literature or painting, So don't think of it like that, although it's kind of related, but I digress. Even though you probably don't think that you've heard something by Tchaikovsky, I can nearly guarantee you that you have, because a lot of his works are so popular that they're played like every year in some cities. Like his Nutcracker ballet, they've played that every year where I live since I can remember. Swan Lake, or even if you haven't heard Swan Lake, you know of it, more than likely. He was in that movie, Natalie Portman, Black Swan, yeah. So that's another pop culture reference to Tchaikovsky. And his 1812 Overture. So, even if you don't think that you know a lot about classical music, you have heard Tchaikovsky at some point in your life. Probably. So, and it's because he's that amazing that people just want to play his music all the time, and that works for me because I love Tchaikovsky too. But anyway, now on to my top 10 Tchaikovsky hits. I don't know if there's actually 10, but I guess I'll find out. I'm going to start with his symphonies because, typically that's a good place to start with a composer. And the ones that I think people should listen to if they haven't heard a lot of Tchaikovsky would definitely be his 4th, 5th, and 6th symphonies. I mean, all of them are good. He wrote 6 total. But, the longer you practice any skill, you get better at it. And so, the more he composed, the more refined his skill got. So, 4 through 6 of his symphonies are probably, the most thorough, the most well-developed. And then 1 through 3, they're still good, but they're not as polished, I guess, Room for improvement, arguably, because, I couldn't compose like Tchaikovsky, but, just as a frame of reference. So those are good. His Romeo and Juliet Fantasy Overture It's a piece of music that he wrote based on Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. And yeah, it's really awesome because if you know the story of Romeo and Juliet, you can kind of like imagine how it fits in with the music, and that makes that makes it a really cool and interactive experience for me. And it's also one of the pieces that got me really interested to classical music in the first place. So I feel a personal connection to that. Check it out, please, if you want to. I am obligated to mention his Violin Concerto as a violinist because I freaking love that concerto. That was probably what made me really want to aspire to be really great at violin. Hearing that for the first time, it was an awesome experience. I was hearing it on the radio and I like wouldn't get out of the car until it was done because I just had to know what it was. And it's frequently regarded as one of the most difficult violin concertos written to this day. So something to consider. It's historical, I guess. He also wrote a couple of piano concertos, but his first one is most popular. If you have an affinity for piano music, that'd be a good place to start. Even if you don't go to see the operas that I mentioned earlier, just listening to the soundtracks is even an awesome experience. So you have Sleeping Beauty, Swan Lake, the Nutcracker, and there are others, but those are like the three basic ones. Not basic, but the most popular, arguably. Is there anything he wrote a Serenade for Strings in C major, and that work is amazing. I love that piece. I've played parts of it several times throughout my career as a musician, and I just love playing Tchaikovsky, but I love that piece in particular. So if you have to pick one, and you're doing it for me because you love me so much and you want to make me happy, then I would love for you to listen to the String Serenade. It's awesome. You won't be disappointed. I hope. Oh, and then my last recommended piece of Tchaikovsky's would be None for the Lonely Heart, and that is it's a lyrical piece, originally written for voice and piano, but as a violinist, I'm going to link you to an interpretation done by a violinist and a pianist. Just because, it's interesting to change things up, use different instruments, and see what happens. And it's a really sad piece, as the title probably gives away, but it's also really beautiful, like everything that Tchaikovsky does. So I'm going to put links to all of these pieces that I mentioned below, and I'm going to link you to my favorite interpretations that are available on YouTube. And so hopefully you'll be getting, some awesome recordings. And my goal is for people to just, you don't have to listen to them all because there's a lot of choices, obviously. But even if you just listen to one or two, I would love if you would leave me a comment and tell me what you thought of it. That would just make my day, because being the big music nerd that I am, I love to talk to people about music that they listen to. And so, yeah, that's all I do. Leave me a comment, tell me what you think, pick your favorite piece. And I guess that's it. So, thank you for watching, and I hope I have expressed my undying love for Tchaikovsky enough. And I will see you next week with something a little bit more thorough, hopefully. But anyway, I'll see you then. Bye.